Let's move to this now. Thousands are said to have reportedly signed a petition calling for the expulsion of a Stellenbosch University student who was caught on camera peeing on a black student's laptop and study material. The incident caused outrage among students at the university and has subsequently, of course, the university subsequently suspending that particular student pending that investigation. Let's discuss this now. We were supposed to be joined by Babalo Ndwayana's father, Mkhuseli Katuka. Unfortunately, he can't join us for this conversation, but we do have Political Analyst and Diversity trainer Asanda Ngoasheng joining us for this particular conversation. Thank you so much, Asanda, for your time. We saw, of course, that video yesterday, much to the outrage of quite a number of people. I wonder, though, because this is not a first, incident of racism at this particular university, why do you think we continue to still see such videos in 2022?
Well, I just want to start off by saying that the video really triggered me in the sense that it reminded me of almost 12 years ago when a similar video broke out of 4 students who allegedly urinated on food because they were kind of showcasing the kind of hazing that goes on in these universities. And so you would think that from that incident 12 years ago, people understood that hazing is wrong and that it's dehumanizing, and particularly using urine or even substances that look like urine. And you would think that people kind of got the memo. But it seems that in South Africa, we have to keep hammering and keep talking about the same thing until we are, fighting each other before people get the point. South Africa is a country that killed apartheid, destroyed the legal tenets, or most of them anyway, of apartheid, but apartheid lives in the hearts and minds of people. And I can tell you, having actually done some workshops and worked at Stellenbosch in diversity and transformation, that particular university has a long road to take. There's a lot of work that needs to happen at Stellenbosch. And I remember when we were doing work there, some of the young people there said this was their first time in their entire life where they were being forced to look at Black people as equals. Where they come from, Black people are other employees, usually employed by their parents, and therefore they are subjects that these kids are able to do to and with as they will. And some of them were saying that this was their first experience of even sharing living space, for example, by being in res with Black people. And when you have young people who have not had exposure to engaging with Black people as equals, to living with Black people, and being able to understand that Black people are full humans who deserve dignity, who deserve peace of mind, and who deserve to live in this country without the fear of being racially abused in any way whatsoever, then you see the kind of work that we still have to do for people to understand that apartheid and what happened in apartheid was not right and will never be right, and that we need to continue to do the work of diversity training, the work of having difficult conversations until we all get it and are on the same page. Otherwise, we're going to continue to replicate apartheid, and the legacy of apartheid is going to continue to traumatize young children, because I'm sure this child is born free. They're born after 1994, and they are finding themselves experiencing things that used to happen in the main during apartheid, and they're finding themselves experiencing this in a post-apartheid era.
And Asanda, you talk about the rates fall in the Free State. That case really shocked a lot of us, and also the report that was released into the Stellenbosch University. But I'd like us to stay with the symbolism of it all. Calling him boy, for example, and we know that this is a derogatory term that references Black men, for example, which was used frequently by white men during apartheid. And at the same time, you're seeing the symbolism of urinating on someone. This can be described as the ultimate display of power and supremacy, especially when I'm listening to what you're saying.
Yeah, urinating, defecating, those kind of things, when you do them to human beings, it's all about dehumanizing them. It's about shaming them. And it's about making them aware that you don't see them as full human beings who deserve dignity and who deserve respect. And this is the problem that we have, that for as long as we have sectors of our community, i.e. some people in the white community, who think that black people are secondary citizens, who think that black people are subhuman, they're going to continue to behave in these ways. And when there are not sanctions, or the sanctions are not harsh enough for those who are caught doing these acts, we're going to continue to see this. And I reference the rates 4, and I keep going back to it because it was a similar case of urinating, even though they denied it. And it was a similar case of talking about it as something that happens within hazing. And I think that, if we look at that case, for example, those boys were only fined 20,000 rands and they were given a 5-year suspended sentence. And right now, as we speak in South Africa, some poor souls are actually probably sharing an office with those guys and they don't even know. Or maybe they have a sense that this person is racist, but they don't understand how or when, but they are basically sitting with those young people. And this young person, if all that happens to them is that they're suspended and they're not expelled and they don't get any kind of jail sentence for deliberately injuring somebody's dignity, they are going to also continue to be a racist bully in a workplace and to make the life of some poor black souls a living hell. Because that's what happens. When racism is not punished, people just simply continue and move on to the next victim.
Asanda, I was reading an article by Adrian Basson, and he's writing about, Hayes Mare, which is said to be a problem there. And he says that in 2000, and I quote, "I remember speaking to young men who were frightened out of their minds about what they had endured in the name of culture and tradition. I remember vividly the one tradition these 18-year-old kids were made to endure, getting down on their knees and looking down while seniors urinated in front of them. This is disturbing, and yesterday the institution even says that that initiation also needs to be looked into. But certainly a lot needs to be done. Are you happy with how the institution has handled this case?
I mean, the institution, I don't think that they've handled it properly. You have a video which basically gives you evidence, and they're supposed to be trying to do this investigation as fast, as quickly as possible. And I think that they're going to have to make it's going to be clear. It has to be clear to them that the best outcome out of this is that they expel the student purely because nobody has a right to make anybody in this country feel humiliated, feel demeaned, and feel dehumanized in the way that that student was seeking to make the victim in this situation. And I think that Stellenbosch itself really needs to take a hard look at itself, because they have a responsibility to move away from being the history of being the architects of apartheid. They have a responsibility more than anybody else as the architects of apartheid, as the institution where the thesis for apartheid came from, to be more vigilant, to be more, harder on perpetrators of racism. And they have not done that. Stellenbosch has a history of ignoring racism. It has a history of ignoring the abuse of black people and the racial trauma that black people carry. And for as long as they're allowed to get away with that ignorance, for as long as they're allowed to get away with giving people light sentences, this kind of thing is going to continue. And we'll be here 10 years from now, we'll be here 20 years from now, still having the very same conversation, just like we did 12 years ago with the rates war.
Thank you so much, Asanda, for your time. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but do appreciate your insights there. That's Asanda Ngoasheng. She's a political analyst as well as a diversity trainer.